Right, so Ivan Toney, he has been linked with a move away since I remember Brentford being in the Premier League. It's just constantly on the news. Where is he going? Is he signing a new contract? It's looking likely he's leaving. He was out of the squad the other day, and it's looking likely he's going to leave. Where he goes is the big question. I personally think if I was Ivan Toney, I'd either stay at Brentford, just suck it up. You're there, you're at a very good Premier League club who will stay in the division, and you never know, you could help them perhaps push above their weight. Or he finds another club in the Premier League or in Europe, and that's in, well, if it's a European club, possibly a Champions League club would take Ivan Toney. I don't see why a Newcastle or a Spurs, well, not Spurs, they've got Solanke, but, or a West Ham. Well, no, they've got Falkirk, actually. But you get what I'm saying. A club like that could easily come in for Ivan Toney. But if he's eyeing up the Arsenals, the Cities, the Liverpools, he needs to get a reality check. He's Ivan Toney. That is who he is. He is not that level. Just because someone is doing very well in the Premier League and they're scoring goals for fun, doesn't automatically make him good enough for the big Champions League clubs in England. And that is clearly what he's been eyeing up. He's been looking for a club like that. And the truth of the matter is, I don't think a club has come in for him. Because at the end of the day, the fees that Brentford they want for him, about 40 to 50 to 60 million. It was actually more at one point. No club at the top of the English game is going to pay that kind of money for a 27, 28-year-old. It's not going to happen. So Toney is in a situation like Harry Kane was at Spurs. Obviously, they're nowhere near as good as Harry Kane. But when you leave it that long before you get to the highest level of football, you think near to the highest level, you're running out of time when you get to 26, because after that, clubs are going to be looking at it and think, that kind of money for a guy who we can get younger for less of the price. So that's why Toney's in a conundrum, but he needs to accept that. He needs to accept where he is as a player. He's a very, very good striker, but is he too good for Brentford? Yeah, he probably is, but for the clubs that he wants to join, I can't see him going in for him. And now it's looking like, with that situation, Saudi Arabia is now a option for Ivan Toney. Now that would disappoint me so much. If this is a guy who's still got loads more years left in the Premier League, about 3 or 4 years left in the Premier League at the level he's at now, maybe even more, stay in the Premier League. Just keep scoring goals, accept where you are. Brentford will offer him quite a lot of money. It might not be what he'd get at an Arsenal or a Chelsea, but actually Chelsea could go in for him. But again, if they've got Osimhen and players like this who they can sign for just a little bit more money, you'd go for that, wouldn't you, if you're Chelsea? But to go to Saudi Arabia at this point in your career would disappoint me so much, and it would really make me think that this guy is all about the money. Clearly all about the money, because to sign for a Saudi team at this point in your career, from where you are, it just tells me a lot about you. It just shows you've just pissed away your career completely. Not financially. Financially, obviously, he would have done bits, but as a footballer, if you want to kick on as a footballer, you don't go to Saudi in your 20s. You don't. It's a bit different for Sterling, because I think with Sterling's played at the highest level. He's played at the highest level, and he's not going to get any higher than Man City. So obviously, you look at his options, and Saudi does make sense. But for Toney, who's never played for a club like that, I just think stay at Brentford, and you never know, he might get 35 goals this season. Who knows? And then a Premier League club might think, do you know what, I'll go in for him. And then before you know it, his contract's up next year, and then an Arsenal or a City hypothetically could get him for free. Remember, we signed Trossard when he was 28, 29. So Ivan Toney could still play at that level, but he needs to improve first of all, and second of all, he'd have to be a free transfer, because no club is going to pay that kind of money for him. But Brentford might think, do you know what, we need to get the money for him. So they probably want him to go to Saudi so they can get a big fee. But I would hope he turns around and says, well, nah. Because he doesn't need to leave. Remember, he doesn't have to go. He might say, no, I want to stay for a year, but I'm not going to sign a contract. He might do that. He might. Because remember, if a club's going to accept an offer for you, the player has to agree to that as well. So I would hope he would stay for another year, score 20 plus goals, and then any club in the league can go in for him for free. And I think they would go in for him. He might not get an Arsenal or City, but Newcastle, if they were to sell Isaac next year, they could get Ivan Toney for free. and it'll be a decent signing. They'd probably get another forward, but there's options for Ivan Toney. He doesn't need to piss away his career and go to Saudi Arabia. I would stick around, play your football, get in that Brentford team. Brentford will have to just play him every week and pay him for this year, and then they get nothing at the end of the year, but you're still getting guaranteed survival, because I still think Brentford would stay up if they didn't have Ivan Toney, but if they had him, they're definitely staying up. I think he should stay put and keep scoring goals for Brentford.